Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to another special edition of Level-Headed News. Boy, have I got news for you. It's been rolling in here all day long. We're just going to hop right on into it and get started. The first one is off of BizPack Review. All of these URLs are listed in the description of the video. So if you'd like to do more research on them or read them for yourself or pass them on or send them or whatever, you're welcome to do that. This one is called Confirmed. Politico ran laughably fake story on alt-right voter suppression. And it says, the alt-right sees national news with yet another phony story Wednesday, this time fooling Politico and causing administrative carnage across several voting jurisdictions. But put flatly, despite what Politico's most popular November 2nd story might tell you, there is no insidious plan to suppress the black vote with 40-ounce beers and marijuana in areas around voting stations. Further, there is no actual evidence of the plan aside from anonymous musings emailed to Politico. Like bonus origins of Pepe the neo-Nazi, the charade was surprisingly easy to execute. An alt-right personality simply lied to a reporter who had a clear agenda, and the reporter in turn reported those lies as fact, albeit with a caveat that he couldn't obtain independent verification. Ben Streckinger's Wednesday story at Politico quickly inspired hysteria among the media and pundit class, breathlessly spreading across the web and causing a scramble among local officials to adequately man the election ramparts. I was pretty sure he knew it was all bull, Mike Enoch, owner of the Right Stuff TRS, a main node of the alt-right, told the DCNF, but was then just going along with it for the fun of it. But it wasn't until the sixth response that he sent that I realized he was going to go ahead and print this crap. The alt-right is a relatively recent political ideology that has at its core the mission of preserving American culture and white identity. The Daily Caller News Foundation initially got into contact with TRS for a comment on whether or not the black voter suppression plan was actually genuine. The story began after Schreckinger contacted Andrew Anglin at the Daily Stormer via email. Anglin had mentioned he was working in conjunction with the Right Stuff on poll monitoring. Schreckinger then contacted TRS. The DCNF obtained the email thread of the exchange, which started on October 27th, as well as internal time-stamped screenshots of members making creative suggestions on how to take Schreckinger for a wild ride. Anglin tells me he's working with you on organizing some poll watching efforts for Election Day. You guys planning on, or try that again. You guys planning any Election Day parties or voter mobilizations? Schreckinger asked the TRS representative over email, later revealed to the DCNF as Mike Enoch, owner of TRS. Enoch ignored request for phone call and instead stated that the group is planning to organize poll watchers in urban areas to cut down on the most traditional type of voter fraud, before moving on to describe the more grandiose elements of the charade. We also have some teams going in to the ghettos in Philly with 40s and weeds or 40s and weed to give out to local residents, which we think will lead to more of them staying home. And he told Schreckinger, oh, Lord, I can't make this stuff up. This is too good. We have had success with this in the past. How many times have you passed out 40s and weed in the ghettos in the past, and where? Do you have any documentation of your past efforts on this front? Schreckinger, to his credit, asking a follow-up email. Enoch again ignored the request and continued explaining the plot to set up hidden cameras to watch for voter fraud. Many polling locations are in schools, and black schools are so disorderly that pretty much any official-looking white person with a clipboard can gain access to them ahead of time and set up a hidden camera, Enoch wrote. You don't really ever even have to speak with an adult. Simply walk in like you belong there, and no one even asks you why you're there. So we usually go in teams of two, one person driving and one person dressed as a blue-collar worker. We set up a hidden camera in the school cafeteria, go during lunchtime, and the teachers are also busy trying to contain the kids that no one says anything. We already have a few set up. As far as going into the ghettos with 40s and weed, probably the most successful operation was for Michigan Democratic primary, where we wanted to sway the vote to Bernie, Enoch added. We don't really know how many black votes we kept from being cast in Detroit that day, but it was very tight finish, so we like to think we had an effect. We had 4 teams of 2 drop of cases of Heineken, OE, and bags of weed to some of the guys hanging around near the polling locations that morning. The funny thing is that they thought we were from the DNC and asked our guys if they were going to have to vote. They were relieved when they were told there were no strings attached. In yet another email to TRS, Schreckinger asked, "What's your name and where are you based, or do you not disclose that?" Here's where Schreckinger pressed hard. Of course, the dilemma of believing a source without documentation is endemic to all reporting, he wrote, but somewhat more pressing when dealing with an anonymous source representing a fringy political orientation. Anything more you can do to give me documentation that the Detroit effort happened and this Philly effort is happening? Dude, I'm not giving you my name or the name of anyone else or any documentation about what we did in Detroit, Enoch shot back. I don't give a so-and-so if you report this. Take it or leave it, bro. Fair enough, had to ask, Schreckinger responded. Ahead and published the piece and quoted this from TRS on Politico without any actual evidence. I'll tell you this, Enoch told the DCNF. This email from Schreckinger just rolled in, and I saw it, and I thought I might play a joke. I never in a million years thought he'd print it. I was pretty sure he knew it was bull, but was then going along with it for the fun of it. But it wasn't until the 6th response that he sent that I realized he was going to go ahead and print this crap. And he laughed as he told the DCNF how ridiculous the plan is on its face. You can't actually just walk into these places, Enoch said, referring to his comment about the white male with a clipboard trying to set up hidden cameras in a school. They have metal detectors and security guards. But I'm well aware of what they want to hear, what they think is true, and it continued. And I was deliberately hitting on that, but really, I didn't think he'd print it. We don't endorse or engage in any illegal activity whatsoever, he added. Instead, Enoch noted that he encourages voters to be poll watchers within the bounds of the law. Schreckinger's original piece only included a couple of weeks caveats about TRS's tall tale, one of which was from Mark Potok of the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, who stated that TRS is a serial exaggerator. The problem with quoting the SPLC is an authoritative source is that it suffered repeated hits to its reputation, as the organization has history of painting an incredibly wide brush in terms of who it deems hateful, among other credibility issues. In one instance, the SPLC placed GOP Senator Paul Rand on electoral extremist list. In a more recent case, the SPLC listed well-known but reasonable critics of Islam like Ayan Ali and Majid Nawaz as anti-Muslim extremists. Critics of the organization have also said it overstates the number of hate groups in the country by targeting political conservatives. Schreckinger noted Politico couldn't independently verify TRS's claims. Despite the measly caveats featured in the Politico piece, the frightening details of the black voter suppression plan immediately made national news, even going so far as to reach much smaller states in the country, prompting worries from officials like Arkansas State Representative Nate Bell, chairman of state agencies and government affairs committee, about whether local election officials were prepared to handle a white nationalist show of force at the polls with the intent to dissuade minority voters. According to an audio recording obtained by the DCNF, Bell asked officials with the Arkansas Secretary of State's office and the State Board of Election Commissioners at a Wednesday morning committee meeting what procedures were in place to prevent such endeavors. One of the things that's been troubling me as we approach this cycle and election day is the potential for external interests to attempt to influence the outcome in a variety of ways, Bell said. I don't know if any of you saw the Politico headline this morning. It says, White Nationalists Plan Election Day Show of Force. Bell then continued by asking how poll employees were ready to respond to the event of a strong white nationalist presence. Employees of the Arkansas State Board of Election Commissioners said poll workers were trained to call local law enforcement when observing voter intimidation. In Philadelphia, District Attorney Seth Williams told Philly.com that his office was preparing to fight voter intimidation. Democrat Senator Bob Casey has called for the Department of Justice to make sure white nationalists aren't allowed to scare off any minority voters. We have come too far to allow a group of white nationalists to intimidate minority voters in Philadelphia or anywhere throughout the nation, Casey wrote in a letter to Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Numerous media outlets have also taken the bait, in effect making Schreckinger's story the most read site on Politico for Wednesday. Brad Reed at the Raw Story repeated the alt-right's dastardly voter suppression plan without even airing the caveats Schreckinger at least listed in the original story. Abigail Tracy at Vanity Fair ironically trashed GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump unsubstantiated fear-mongering regarding election rigging, while in the same breath warning that a slew of fringe right white nationalist groups reportedly intend to deploy thousands of people to engage in ballot box intimidation and voter suppression. Esquire wrote a guide to the alt-right preparing a swarm the polls and took the hocus pocus at face value, only doubting its effectiveness and whether followers are motivated enough to carry out the plot. Roaming gangs of neo-Nazis handing out weed and 40s in heavily minority communities as distraction from voting. No, really, that's their plan, Megan Carpenter wrote. Plus, poll watchers, possibly in coordination with an anonymous website that swears it has secretly installed hidden cameras in school cafeterias, which is totally illegal, to capture fraudulent voters in the act. Debbie Oncolida at Complex, along with other media outlets, also uncritically reported the diabolical plan of voter suppression. Salon called out the Politico story as bunk, but cited just one tweet. Yeah, it's likely not going to happen, Brendan Gother wrote, referring to the plans, but don't take it from us. Journalists also credulously picked up on the story via Twitter and added their own commentary. Sam Stein, the senior Politico, try that again. Sam Stein, senior politics editor at Huffington Post, tweeted out, "This is vile." And says, correct the record. An organization dedicated to presenting a pro-Hillary narrative in internet spaces and social media also tweeted out the article saying white nationalists are plotting an election day show of force to help elect real Donald Trump. And it says Oliver Darcy, politics editor at Business Insider, tweeted, some neo-Nazis plan to hand out alcohol and weed in Philadelphia's ghetto on election day to decrease the turnout. Ben Schreckinger did not respond to a request for comment from the Daily Caller News Foundation. No, he's probably laughing too hard. The next one we have is off of BizPack Review. It's not nice to play with the gullible, I'll tell you what. Kellyanne Conway takes on CNN's Kumo like nobody's business. You sound a little desperate. Conway shreds partisan hacks for a living. Donald Trump's campaign manager smacked down CNN shill Chris Cuomo when he repeatedly took jabs at Trump during a fiery live interview. You sound a little desperate and partisan, Conway said when the little brother of Democratic New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, a Hillary ally, asked why Trump has trouble staying on message. Cuomo pointed to a soundbite of Trump at a rally, reminding him to stay cool and not get unhinged like Hillary Clinton, who exploded at a heckler early this week. Talking to himself out loud to remind himself, don't attack anybody. Why is it so hard for him? Cuomo asked. Conway explained that Trump isn't afraid to confront his critics, especially those who level unfair negative attacks against him. Cuomo interrupted, nobody has brought negativity to the race the way Trump has. Conway then pointed out that no political candidate in history has ever been attacked from all sides like Trump. That's not fair, she said. He has an unprecedented deluge of negative coverage. According to the Media Research Center, 91% of Trump's press coverage has been negative, as pro-Hillary mainstream media such as CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times severely limit or try to minimize their coverage of Clinton's two criminal FBI investigations. Conway said the public is increasingly seeing through Clinton scandals and media obfuscation. They think Hillary lies for a living, she noted, saying an upstart maverick like Trump is the perfect foil for entitled oligarch career politicians like Clinton. We want a true outsider to be the voice of the forgotten man and woman, Conway said. So there you have that. There's a couple of quotes here. One is a new Hillary rap video. If you want to take a look at that one, you can pull that up and play that. Giuliani, you'd have to be stupid not to say that Hillary's broke the law. That's a link you could click on and read more about that. So there you have that article. Next one we have is off BizPack Review. For the hamster to fling it on the screen here. Let's see. It says, off. BleachBit develops new product inspired by Hillary, then mocks her. Firm that developed the software BleachBit came out with a new product and gave it a name designed to poke fun at Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. BleachBit is a product that totally erases computer files, and it's what Hillary used to delete the emails that she didn't want anyone else to see from her computer server. Secretary of State was questioned by Fox News Channel Ed Henry. She had wiped her email server. She disingenuously replied, author something? And there's a video if you want to watch that. It goes on, says, in honor of that cringeworthy statement, the folks at BleachBit came out with a microfiber cloth to clean computer screens called Cloth or Something, and packaged featuring Clinton uttering those words. After it was discovered that Clinton's team used BleachBit to erase her emails, Representative Trey Gowdy said the deletion, even God can't read them. BleachBit now proudly uses the South Carolina Republicans' words as an endorsement for its product. With the current check of BleachBit's site, their cloths are currently sold out. Folks on social media love the name for the new product. And there's some tweets and stuff in this if you want to read those for entertainment. The next one is from regated.com. I mean, I'll swear this is more and more comical as the days pass, isn't it? Jeb Bush to become professor at Texas A&M. Jeb Bush has found a purpose. Jeb Bush, former Florida governor and runner in the 2016 GOP presidential candidate election, has decided to instruct a course at Texas A&M University beginning in January of 2017. Texas A&M announces, or former Florida Governor Jeb Bush will join the faculty of Bush School of Government and Public Service at Texas A&M University as an executive professor, and John D. White, 70 Distinguished Professor of Practice. He will teach a concentrated course in January on the role of gubernatorial leadership and its impact on government at all levels, announced Bush School Dean Mark Welch. The course will only be 10 days long, but has already had over 65 signups from students interested in taking the course. Dean Welch said he is proud to become Governor Bush, or try that again. Dean Welch said he is proud to welcome Governor Bush and the insight into policy and governance he will provide. Mark Welch, dean of the Bush School at Texas A&M, had this to say: Governor Bush is a dedicated and accomplished public servant who will provide our students future leaders in public life with vivid perspective of the challenges facing state officials, said Welch. We are very pleased to offer a course of this nature and look forward to Governor Bush's arrival on the campus, Welch said. A&M is a very important aspect of the Bush family history. The Bush School of Government and Public Service, graduate college of Texas A&M University. The school is named in honor of former U.S. President George H.W. Bush. However, the school's grounds are also home to President George H.W. Bush Public Library, which hosts a museum containing President Bush's most famed accomplishments and possessions. President George H.W. Bush even put his future gravesite on the school grounds. It seems as if Jeb Bush is winding down his career as a politician and becoming a more respected figure in the education sector. The next article is off of regated.com. I'm waiting for it to flip up here on the screen. Here we go. Now this is, I don't know. I found this very, very strange. Most of you will find us strange as well. I don't know what to make of all this, but this is just creepy. John Podesta, Clinton camp chairman, invited to spirit cooking dinner. Of spirit cooking, I thought that I was, fairly well versed on things that aren't considered real Christian, but apparently I still got a lot to learn. Let me read this to you. Marina Abramovic, a Serbian performance artist based in New York, corresponding with Tony Podesta via email. Podesta is John Podesta's brother, just so you know. Dear Tony, Abramovic wrote, I am so looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. Do you think you will be able to let me know if your brother is joining? Tony Podesta then emails his brother, John Podesta, asking, are you in New York City Thursday, July the 9th? Marina wants you to come to dinner. Spirit cooking originates, according to Veripedia, with a religion, Thelmia, founded by occultist Aleister Crowley. Spirit cooking itself is an occult performance where menstrual or pig's blood and bodily fluids are combined to create a palatable substance. Then below video by Marina Abramovic shows a spirit cooking event, and there's video in this if you want to pull that up and take a look at that. It says, to further put this into perspective, Abramovic held an Ask Me Anything on Reddit 3 years ago. If you're doing the occult magic in the context of art, then it is the art. If you are doing it in a different context, or private house on TV shows, it is not art. The intention, the context for what is made and where it is made defines what art is or not. Spirit cooking is deeply odd. I'd go along with that. Whether or not this dinner John Podesta attended whether or not John Podesta attended this dinner performance. The fact this ceremony was at Abramovich's private house is terrifying because it probably takes on a new meaning. Does this mean that spirit cooking dinner was not just art but something more serious? We're going through the looking glass into the twilight zone. Once we go through, there's no coming back. So I just found that all very strange. What in the world are all these people? It's off of naturalnews.com, and this says FBI to bring down the DOJ. AP fakes the news. The FBI is going to bring down the DOJ, and America will cheer the agency's heroes as Clinton crime regime is finally toppled. Men and women of the FBI who are now working diligently to bring down the corrupt DOJ and the criminal Clinton cartel, we the people support your effort. Agents in the FBI are right now seeking to topple the criminal corruption at the DOJ by targeting all the following individuals who may soon be wearing prison stripes. Loretta Lynch, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, Assistant Attorney General Peter Kasnick, Assistant Attorney General John P. Carlin, Assistant Attorney General Leslie Caldwell. U.S. Justice Attorney Joe DeGeneva. Disgruntled FBI agents are digging tunnels under the Justice Department. They're going to sink that place, reports the Daily Caller. DeGeneva says the agents within the Bureau have gone rogue, and any upper-level bureaucrat that gets in their way from investigating Clinton could be exposed. He later said everything is on that laptop. It's probably adverse to everything she has said publicly and probably proves that she has committed multiple perjuries. So there's stuff like that over at the Department of State, he added. There's classified information. There's pay to play. There's stuff about destroying documents. No doubt it's the panoply of issues that they have tried to cover up. DOJ corrupt officials are stupid. FBI agents are smart. Guess how this turns out? As an investigative journalist, the thing that really strikes me about all of that we're witnessing today is just how incredibly stupid the Clinton co-conspirators are. It's obvious that none of them have any idea how technology works. They don't understand real-time online backups, email originating server authentication, or the fundamentals of digital security. And stupid, and that's exactly why they're now getting caught red-handed and may eventually find themselves going to jail. Remember, nobody in the corrupt Obama and Clinton regime attained their positions of authority based on merit. Most of them just bribed their way to high office or blackmailed somebody in the Clinton cartel to achieve power, because that's the way corrupt Democrats do things, you see. The FBI, on the other hand, tends to recruit intelligent people based on merit, not on how politically connected somebody's daddy in Washington is. As a result, the FBI's culture, one or more independent thinking, hardworking, and merit-based professional advancement, no wonder the FBI's agents are seething at the corruption and criminality of the Clinton Mafia. It's a cesspool of unearned power from a cabal of elite nitwits, obnoxious and arrogant to believe anything can ever bring them down. That's why the scrappy, hardworking men and women of the FBI are finding so much joy in toppling the Clinton bill. It's sheer happiness to pull the plug out from under such a massive cesspool of criminal filth parading around as political leadership, and watch the bewildered heads roll down the steps of Capitol Hill, thunk, 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 splat. In fact, it's a joy for all informed Americans to even imagine such an outcome. That's why I wanted to let the FBI know that all the patriots across America are with you on this one. Brings down the DOJ, there will be victory parades in the streets. The FBI can restore its reputation as the protector of democratic society rooted in real justice. The FBI's reputation among patriots took a huge hit with the Oregon rancher fiasco last year. That right now, all kinds of FBI agents are realizing the Oregon ranchers were right. The corrupt U.S. government really is a threat to us all. Thanks to the Clintons, the FBI sees that the same way the Oregon ranchers did. And just as the ranchers hoped to end BLM corruption across America, Western lands, the FBI is now working to end DOJ corruption in D.C. In both cases, you got hardworking cowboys fighting for a free nation by ridding this country of the corrupt criminal class running the show in Washington. If FBI agents have now awakened to all this, the awakening is likely to keep spreading through the halls of D.C., including the Pentagon itself, where the military coup against the corrupt Clinton regime would be extremely popular among police officers, federal agents, patriots, and ordinary Americans. Likely wind up if the FBI fails to bring down the regime. In fact, my analysis of the three waves of revolution that will assault a Clinton regime looks like this. And if Trump wins, then the problem is already solved. But wave one, the FBI and other intelligence insiders, this process is already underway and may prove sufficient to end Hillary's chances before Election Day. Wave two, the U.S. military and armed military occupation of Washington, the elimination of criminal Clinton cartel, and the restoration of fair and free elections. Number three, a citizens' revolt, armed American patriots storming Washington and taking their country back from the criminals who stole it from them. Only if all three of these waves fail will the Clintons remain in power, and even then, most of America will refuse to recognize any legitimacy of a Clinton presidency, DOJ, or even the U.S. Supreme Court under a Clinton administration. In essence, America will erode into a divided nation haunted by a screaming criminal tyrant named Hillary Clinton, who will sooner or later go down in history as the most corrupt president ever to briefly occupy the Oval Office before being led off in handcuffs to face criminal prosecution for literally hundreds of felony crimes. And that's it. It's a note to the FBI: don't fail America now. Be anything left to fight for any of us. So there you have that article. The next one that we have is off of the WashingtonTimes.com, and it says Obama's idea to reroute Dakota Access Pipeline skewered by both sides. Say this for President Obama: his suggestion to reroute the Dakota Access Pipeline has brought both sides together, although not in the way he might have hoped. The idea has been condemned by environmentalists and pipeline protesters who want to see the project blocked altogether, as well as pipeline supporters who say the reroute would be prohibitively expensive and represent flagrant interference with the regulatory process. Then there's the court record showing that the Dakota Access LLC has already rerouted the pipeline repeatedly, 140 times, in response to concerns from archaeologists and tribes about historic relics and cultural sites. During that 2-year period, however, Standing Rock Sioux officials repeatedly ignored or refused efforts to consult with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The Corps has documented dozens of attempts to engage Standing Rock in consultations to identify historical resources at Lake, and their PCN, pro-construction notice crossing, said U.S. District Court Judge James Boseberg in his September 9th order rejecting the tribe's motion for an injunction. Suffice it to say that the tribe largely refused to engage in consultations. It chose instead to hold out for more, namely, the chance to conduct its own cultural surveys over the entire length of the pipeline, said the judge. Mr. Obama is regarded as a foe of such projects after blocking the Keystone XL pipeline last year. But the Obama administration has little say over the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is being built almost entirely on private land. Only 3% of the 1,172-mile route actually touches on federal jurisdiction. The pipeline never enters Standing Rock territory, although it crosses the Missouri River under Lake Owie, about a half-mile from the reservation. In addition, the $3.7 billion pipeline, which will funnel nearly 500,000 barrels of crude oil per day from North Dakota's Bakken field to Illinois, tracks alongside another pipeline at Lake Owie in order to avoid creating any new disturbances. The current route of the Dakota Access Pipeline only passes through about 35 miles of federally controlled land, does not cross the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, and is collated with a 30-year-old natural gas pipeline so as to ensure that it avoids culturally significant sites, said Craig Stevens, spokesman for the Midwest Alliance for Infrastructure Coalition. Brian Kalk, member of the North Dakota Public Service Commission, said he understood the tribe's concerns but defended the route. This is a very good route. If you're going to build a pipeline, this is as safe as it can be built, Mr. Kalk told the Associated Press. Commission Chair Julie Fedorchak said she had grave concerns about the president's idea to alter the route for a company that has already completed the process and received permits. I just don't think that's good public policy. Business groups have raised alarms over the president that would be set by presidential interference with the rule of law in order to placate protesters. The cost of stopping construction in order to redo environmental and cultural assessment on a new route would run into hundreds of millions of dollars, sending the signal to other companies that the country is closed for business, said Mr. Stevens. Because no company would ever invest billions of dollars necessary to complete the already time-consuming and erroneous regulatory process, only to be subjected to review in the latter stages of its project and potentially be shut down, he said. Mr. Obama's suggestion, which came during an online interview Tuesday with the Now This News, was applauded as a step in the right direction by Standing Rock Sioux chairman David Archambault II, who said he appreciated the president's commitment to protect our sacred lands. At the same time, Mr. Archambault called on Obama administration to issue an immediate stop work order on the Dakota Access Pipeline, citing concerns about the tribe's drinking water and relics. Environmentalists were less diplomatic. Greenpeace USA spokeswoman Lillian Manila said the administration seems to be buying time to maintain the status quo and profits for fossil fuel investors. There is only one option that is truly attentive to the native lives and lands at stake: respect the rights and sovereignty of indigenous communities by revoking the permits immediately, Ms. Molina said in a statement. To stop the project, the Obama administration made the unprecedented decision to hold up the final federal easement in order to conduct a review of the tribal consultation process, which is underway. The final meeting is scheduled for November the 21st. The pipeline is more than 75% completed and almost entirely finished in North Dakota, with the exception of the small stretch under federal jurisdiction. So there's that. The next one we have is off of RT.com. This one says, Assange, Clinton and ISIS funded by same money. Trump won't be allowed to win. This is a John Pillager exclusive, it says. And there's video here, if you want to take a look at that. And it says, in the second excerpt from the John Pillinger special to be exclusively broadcast by RT on Saturday, courtesy of Dartmouth Films, Julian Assange accuses Hillary Clinton of misleading Americans about the true scope of Islamic State's support to Middle East allies. In 2014 email made public by Assange's WikiLeaks last month, Hillary Clinton, who had served as Secretary of State until the year before, urges John Podesta, then an advisor to Barack Obama, to bring pressure on Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which are providing clandestine financial and logistic support to ISIL, the Islamic State, IS or ISIS, and other radical Sunni groups. It says, I think this is the most significant email in the whole collection. Assange, whose whistleblowing site released 3 tranches of Clinton-related emails over the past year, told Pillinger in an exclusive interview, courtesy of Dartmouth Films, all serious analysis no, and even the U.S. government has agreed that some Saudi figures have been supporting ISIS and funding ISIS, but the dodge has always been that it is some rogue princes using their oil money to do whatever they like. But actually, the government disproves. But that email says that it's the government of Saudi Arabia and the government of Qatar that have been funding ISIS. Who sat down for the 25-minute interview at the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where the whistleblower has been refugee since 2012, then talked about the conflict of interest between Clinton's official post, which held throughout Obama's first term, her husband's nonprofit, and the Middle East officials whose stated desire to fight terrorism may not have been sincere. John Pillinger says the Saudis, the Qataris, the Moroccans, the Bahrainis, particularly the first 2, are giving all this money to the Clinton Foundation while Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State, and the State Department is approving massive arms sales, particularly Saudi Arabia. Julian Assange says, under Hillary Clinton, and the Clinton emails reveal a significant discussion of it, the biggest ever arms deal in the world was made with Saudi Arabia, more than $80 billion. During her tenure, the total arms exports from the U.S. doubled in dollar value. John Pillinger says, of course, the consequences of that is that this notorious jihadist group called ISIL or ISIS is created largely with money from people who are giving money to the Clinton Foundation. And Julian Assange says yes. And there's a link that you can click on to read more about that. And then it says, Pillinger also questioned Assange over increasingly frequent accusations from the Clinton camp and Western media that WikiLeaks is looking to swing next week's U.S. presidential election in favor of Donald Trump, perhaps at Russia's behest. But Assange dismissed the prospect of Trump, who is behind in the polls, winning is unlikely and not necessarily due to his standing with the electorate. My analysis is that Trump would not be permitted to win. Why do I say that? Because he's had every establishment off his side. Trump does not have one establishment, maybe with the exception of the evangelicals. If you can call them an establishment, said Assange, banks, intelligence, arms companies, foreign money, etc., are all united behind Hillary Clinton, and the media as well, media owners and the journalists themselves. And there's another link that you can click on to get more information. So there you have that one. Next one we have is off of redstatewatcher.com. Breaking. Assange just emerged from hiding to deliver the biggest November surprise to Hillary. On Thursday, we discovered that Julian Assange had emerged from hiding and allowed John Pillinger from Dartmouth Films to record him and interview. The video will be aired this Saturday, November the 5th on RT, but we found this teaser trailer. So you can pull that up and take a look at it. That's just kind of a follow-up to the last article. The next one we have here is, this says, off of Red State Watcher, breaking. Ex-apprentice Trump accuser was paid $500,000 by Team Hillary to fabricate story. The ex-apprentice loser who claimed Donald Trump sexually assaulted her was bribed with $500,000 by lawyer Gloria Allred to fabricate the story. Allred is a Hillary Clinton collaborator and DNC associate. According to an anonymous source, this deal was reportedly shopped around to other ex-apprentice contestants. Truthfeed.com reported, Got News source tells us that Zervo's sexual harassment accusation against Trump is a complete fabricated hoax. Zervos was paid $500,000 by Gloria Allred, which is being paid out slowly over time, according to our source. Zervos was paid $500,000 by Gloria Allred, which is being paid out slowly over time, according to her. So I don't know why they put that down there twice. Okay. Zervos was a big league Trump supporter who converted her whole family to Trump train until she met Gloria Allred, as was reported before. Money talks. Got news. Anonymous source tells us that Zervos' family is aware of the transaction and angry about it, but does not want to be caught up in the news cycle. So there that. Next one we have is off of WashingtonTimes.com. Michael McCall on Hillary Clinton's private server hacks. It's treason, and there's video you can watch. It says a Representative Michael McCall, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, on Thursday said Hillary Clinton's exposing sensitive information to potentially multiple hacks from foreign actors amounts to treason. Security protocols to protect classified information, Mr. McCall said on Fox and Friends. She exposed it to our enemies, and now our adversaries have this very sensitive information that not only jeopardizes her and national security at home, but the men and women serving overseas. In my opinion, quite frankly, it's treason, said Mr. McCall, Texas Republican. Citing sources familiar with FBI's investigation, Fox News reported Wednesday that there is already about 99% accuracy that at least 5 foreign intelligence agencies successfully hacked Mrs. Clinton's private email server she set up to use as Secretary of State. Mr. McCall said Mrs. Clinton absolutely would be exposed to potential blackmail from such countries if elected as president. The concerns I've had all along is that she had 7 special access programs on these devices. Those are among classified sensitive secrets in the federal government. Many of them covert operations, he said. She took those devices overseas against State Department wishes, and now we find out, and James Comey told me previously, that likely foreign adversary nations got into her private server, Mr. McCall said. So there you have that. Next one I have for you is off of All News Pipeline. Countdown to chaos. Terror attack warning for Monday. How far will Obama go to prevent Trump from winning the presidency? Since the FBI announcement by a letter sent to Congress last Friday that new emails that appear to be pertinent had been obtained in relation to Hillary Clinton private server investigation that the FBI had refused to recommend charges against Clinton for back in July, we have been watching a snowball rolling down a mountain, gathering speed and growing exponentially, leading to the complete implosion of not only the Clinton campaign, but causing panic from media to the elite globalists, as well as the political establishment. The new information referred to in the letter were found on the computer of Anthony Weiner, former disgraced congressman and husband of Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin, detailing overwhelming amount of information that has been revealed since Comey's letter to Congress was reported on October 28, 2016. It is noteworthy to mention that while the general public was just informed of it, officials have been aware for months that Abedin had forwarded work-related and classified State Department emails to herself at an unsecured account using the email address humaabedin@yahoo.com. Jerome Corsi first reported on this in late August at WND. Even more potentially damaging, of the 110 emails Abedin forwarded to her personal email servers, 45 were found by WMD to have contained heavily redacted information, with some 20 of the emails 100% redacted. Many have bold "page denied" stamped on the page. In other words, almost half the emails that Abedin forwarded to her unsecured personal account have been information the State Department deems too sensitive to be seen by members of Congress or the American people. Clinton campaign conspired to hide the emails. During the original investigation, Clinton team turned over roughly 55,000 pages of emails, but deleted an additional 33,000, claiming they were not work-related and asserting that everything pertinent was turned over. During the last week, it's been reported many of the emails found on Weiner's computer that had been forwarded to herself were work-related emails that were never turned over to the FBI investigators by Hillary Clinton, strongly indicating that the missing emails were deliberately kept from the FBI to prevent charges from being recommended against Clinton. By the WikiLeaks hacked emails, we also know that when the story broke nationally about Clinton's private email server, her campaign chair, John Podesta, stated on March the 2nd of 2015, "We are going to have to dump all those emails, so better do it sooner than later." Team Clinton now claims that Podesta was actually talking about dumping the emails to the public, but another email released by WikiLeaks on November the 3rd of 2016 shows that the Clinton campaign internally acknowledged that there were emails that would not be turned over, and there's a screenshot of this from um, Jay Benison to Jim Margolis. Says, yes, if there is a release of the 55K, there are others that are not being released, or are there others that are not being released? And Jennifer Palmer says, team, wanted to let you know that Cheryl is working with the state to get agreement on the release of its 55,000 pages of emails. She have to state the hope would be that we are able to say tonight to the press that we are working with state to get the emails released soon. Not sure where those discussions will land, but hope is either state agrees to release on timely basis or we pledge to release them ourselves in 10 days or a week. Assume you all would agree this is the right move? Question mark. Obama administration tried to stop FBI investigation from informing the public. And last week, we have also learned the Obama administration repeatedly attempted to kill the investigation into the Clinton Foundation, according to the Daily Caller. Senior level Justice Department officials pushed back heavily on an ongoing FBI investigation of the Clinton Foundation, according to a bombshell report from the Wall Street Journal. In response, laid out numerous examples, the newspaper laid out numerous examples based on law enforcement sources of senior DOJ officials intervening to quash the probe. Numerous examples are provided that show that Obama's DOJ was deliberately obstructing the investigation. And there's a link where you can read the whole thing. DOJ also vehemently opposed James Comey's notifying Congress about the new news emails found to be pertinent to the Clinton server investigation. According to, they justified their opposition by citing policy of not revealing information that could affect an election. In other words, to protect Hillary Clinton's candidacy. How does it become policy of a government to deliberately hide information about a candidate running for the highest office in the land? We see cases already of voter fraud, dead people voting in multiple states, stack of over 80 ballots, all listing different names but at the same address, a 2-bedroom apartment being discovered, and major media networks have been busted creating graphics that declare Hillary Clinton the winner of an election that's still 5 days away. The fact is, elites determined Hillary Clinton would be selected to win the presidential election, but as we saw during the primary season, Donald Trump has managed to obstruct their plan since the beginning, as they declared he would never win the GOP nomination and then proceeded to offer wall-to-wall negative coverage to make that true, to which they failed at spectacularly. Barack Obama has been quoted more than once stating Trump won't be elected president, qualifying his statement by claiming he has faith in the American people not to vote for Trump. We have to wonder exactly how far Obama would go to prevent Trump from being the president. That's critical question as we see the polls tightening to the point where pundits, the political establishment, the media, Hollywood Democrats, and globalists across the board are panicking. With that question in mind, we find it highly disturbing to see that anonymous sources within U.S. intelligence agencies are all of a sudden leaking information about possible al-Qaeda terror attacks, specifically mentioning Monday, the day before the presidential election is to occur. The following warnings from earlier in the week about polling places has seen an attractive target for lone wolf type attacks by individuals motivated by violent extremist ideologies, sovereign citizens, or other extremist activity, according to CBS News. What a coincidence. The very week the Hillary Clinton campaign implodes in what could arguably be the biggest scandal in U.S. history, which has caused the race to be so close it's within the average margin of error, and the public is being told by unnamed sources that a major terror attack may occur in multiple states the day before the election. The short answer is yes, the election technically can be suspended by Obama. The office of president has been given by Congress extraordinary emergency powers over the past decades. For example, in 2006, Bush signed the John Warner Defense Authorization Act into law, which would allow the sitting president to declare a public emergency at his discretion. By UFP News, it says on December 17th, 2006, President Bush signed into law the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, which affords the president, any president, not just him, any president, the ability to declare a public emergency at his own discretion and place federal troops anywhere throughout the United States. Under this law, the president also now has the authority to federalize National Guard troops without the consent of state governors in order to restore public order. The president can now deploy federal troops to U.S. cities at will, which eliminates 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. By Michael Snyder Act in August of 2016, there is not a single statute, regulation, executive order, or presidential directive that contains all of the powers that a president would possess during a major national emergency. Rather, these powers have been layered upon on top of one another for the very long period of time. They come from literally dozens of different laws, regulations, court decisions, executive orders, and presidential directives. One document that I would refer you to is the National Security Presidential Directive 51, which was put into effect during the Bush administration. It's all about national continuity policy, and it defines a catastrophic emergency as any incident, regardless of location, that results in extraordinary levels of mass casualties, damage, or disruptions severely affecting the U.S. population, infrastructure, environment, economy, or government functions. In such a scenario, the president would have almost unlimited power. He would wield enormously powerful executive orders such as this one. If there was one big enough emergency, the president would potentially be able to declare martial law, suspend elections, and essentially become a dictator. In such a scenario, the president would have almost unlimited power. He would wield enormously powerful executive orders such as this one. Well, that I don't know. It's got that one listed twice for some reason. I just read that. Technically, the president has the power to suspend the elections by declaring a national emergency or martial law. But no way would Americans tolerate that just so he could prevent a candidate from winning the election. So he would need an extraordinary event, perhaps coordinated series of terrorist attacks. The presidential race is so tight that no one can predict where the polls will be by Monday morning, especially with the bombshell after bombshell being revealed about Clinton corruption in the 11th hour, so to speak. And we come back to the question posed earlier, exactly how far will Obama go to prevent Donald Trump from becoming the next president of the United States of America? Next article I have for you is off of Breitbart.com, and it says, Eric Prince, New York Police Department ready to make arrest in the Anthony Weiner case. Blackwater founder and former Navy SEAL Eric Prince told Breitbart News Daily on SiriusXM that according to one of his well-placed sources in the New York Police Department, the NYPD wanted to do a press conference announcing the warrants and the additional arrests they were making in the Anthony Weiner investigation, but received huge pushback from the Justice Department. And there's video in this if you want to pull that up, and it's going to try to play here. I've got to get that stopped because of their ads and stuff that they put on this. And it's acting goofy. It's waiting for me to start reading. I know it is. It does that every blasted time. Okay, there it is. Shut it down. All right. I mean, it's not like the foreign intelligence agencies leave a thank you note after they've hacked and stolen your data, Prince said to SiriusXM host Alex Marlowe. Prince claimed he had insider knowledge of the investigation that could help explain why FBI Director James Comey had announced he was reopening the investigation into Clinton's email server last week. Because of Wienergate, oh, I swear, this stuff cracks me up. We've got Wienergate and Dickie Leaks, and if anybody would have told me 20 years ago we'd be looking at this kind of stuff, I'd have probably just slapped them. And the sexting scandal, the NYPD started investigating it through a subpoena, through a warrant. They searched his laptop and sure enough found those 650,000 emails. They found way more stuff than just information pertaining to an inappropriate sexting the guy was doing, Prince claimed. They found State Department emails. They found a lot of other really damning criminal information, including money laundering, including the fact that Hillary went to his this sex island with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Clinton went there more than 20 times. Hillary Clinton went there at least 6 times, he said. The amount of garbage that they found in these emails of criminal activity by Hillary, by her immediate circle, and even other Democratic members of Congress was so disgusting, they gave it to the FBI and they said, we're going to go public with this if you don't reopen the investigation and you don't do the right thing with timely indictments, Prince explained. I believe, I know, at this, and this is from a very well-placed source of mine at 1PP, One Police Plaza in New York. The NYPD wanted to do a press conference announcing the warrants and additional arrests that they were making in this investigation, and they got huge pushback to the point of coercion from the Justice Department, with the Justice Department threatening to charge someone that had been unrelated in the accidental heart attack death of Eric Garner almost 2 years ago. That's the level of pushback the Obama Justice Department is doing against actually seeking justice in email and other related criminal matters, Prince said. There's 5 different parts of the FBI conducting investigations into these things with constant downdrafts from the Obama Justice Department. So I hope, unlikely and very unfortunate event that Hillary Clinton is elected president, we will have a constitutional crisis that we have not seen since, I believe, 1860, Prince declared. Marlowe asked Prince to clarify these revelations. And so he says, NYPD was the first one to look at the laptop, Prince elaborated. Weiner and Huma Abedin, his wife, the closest advisor to Hillary Clinton for 20 years, have both flipped. They're cooperating with the government. They both have. They see potential jail time of many years for their crimes. For Huma Abedin, sending and receiving and even storing hundreds of thousands of messages from the State Department server and from Hillary Clinton's own homebrew server, which contained classified information. Weiner faces all kinds of exposure for the inappropriate sexting that was going on and for other information that they found. So NYPD first gets that computer. They see how disgusting it is. They keep a copy of everything, and they pass a copy on to the FBI, which finally pushes the FBI off their chairs, making Comey reopen that investigation, which was indicated in the last letter, or in the letter last week. The point being, NYPD has all the information, and they will pursue justice within their rights if the FBI doesn't, Prince contended. There's all kinds of criminal culpability throughout all the emails, or through all the emails they've seen. 50,000, including money laundering, underage sex, pay for play, and of course, plenty of proof of inappropriate handling, sending, receiving of classified information up to SAP level, Special Access Program, he stated. So the plot thickens. NYPD pushes because an article quoted one of the chiefs, that's the level just below commissioner. He said, as a parent, as father with daughters, he could not let that level of evil continue, Prince said. He noted that the FBI can investigate these matters, but they can't convene a grand jury. They can't file charges. The prosecutor, the Justice Department, has to do that, he explained. Now, as I understand it, Preet Bharara, the Manhattan prosecutor, has gotten a hold of some of this from what I hear. He's a stand-up guy, and hopefully he does the right thing. Marlowe agreed that Bharara's sterling reputation as a determined prosecutor was bad news for the Clintons. Prince agreed, but said, if people are willing to bend or break the law and don't really care about the Constitution or due process, if you're willing to use the Stalinist tactics against someone, who knows what level of pressure could be brought to bear against even the most tenacious law enforcement officials. The point being, unfortunately, it's not just the FBI. There are 5 different offices that are in the hunt for justice, but the New York Police Department has it as well, said Prince, citing the Wall Street Journal's reporting that has exposed downdraft back pressure from the Justice Department against both FBI and the NYPD in an effort to keep the sunlight and the disinfecting effects of the truth and transparency from shining on this great evil that has gone on and is slowly being exposed. The Justice Department is trying to run out the clock to elect Hillary Clinton to prevent any real justice from being done, he warned. As for the mayor of New York City, Prince said he has heard that de Blasio wants to stay away from this. The evidence is so bad, the email content is so bad, that I think even he wants to stay away from it, which is really telling, he said. Prince reports that the other legislators involved in the case have not been named yet and urged the NYPD to hold press conferences and name them. I wish they'd do that today, he said. These are the unusual sliding door moments of history that people can stand up and be counted and make a real difference and save a republic, save a constitution that we actually need and love, that our forefathers fought and died for any cop that is aware of this level of wrongdoing, and they have veterans in their family or deceased veterans in their family, they owe it to them to stand up, to stand and be counted today, and shine the light of truth on this great evil. From what I understand, up to the commissioner, or at least the chief level of NYPD, they wanted to have a press conference, and DOJ Washington people, political appointees, have been exerting all kinds of undue pressure on them to back down, he said. Marlowe suggested that some of those involved in keeping the details quiet might want to avoid accusations of politicizing the case and seek to influence the presidential election. Sure, that's it. That's the argument for it, Prince agreed. But the fact is, you know, that if the left had emails pointing to Donald Trump visiting multiple times an island with underage sex slaves, basically emails, you know, they'd be talking about it. They'd be shouting it from the rooftops. This kind of evil, this kind of true dirt on Hillary Clinton. Look, you don't have to make any judgments. Just release the emails, he urged. Just dump them. Let them out there. Let people see the light of truth. Prince dismissed the claims of people like Clinton campaigning, the CEO John Podesta and DNC chair Donna Brazile, that Some of the damaging emails already released by WikiLeaks were fabricated, noting that forensic analysis done shows that indeed they are not fabricated, they are really legitimate. This is stiff coming right off the hard drives that was owned by Weiner and his wife Huma Abedin, Hillary's closest advisor for the last 20 years, he said of the new bombshells. This is not from some hacker or anybody else. This is a laptop seized from a warrant in a criminal investigation. Prince confirmed that based on his information, Abedin is most likely looking at jail time unless she cuts a deal with prosecutors. There's a minimum of obstruction of justice and all kinds of unlawful handling of classified information, he said. Because remember, this laptop was in the possession of Weiner, who did not have a security clearance, and many of those emails were from her Yahoo account, which had State Department emails forwarded to them, so she could easier print these messages, scan them, and send them on to Hillary. That's the carelessness that Hillary and her staff had for the classified information that the intelligence community risked life and limb to collect in challenged, opposed areas around the world. That's not who you want in the White House, Prince declared. So that's the news that I had for you tonight. My goodness gracious. It just keeps getting thicker. Well, I'll tell you what, this is Friday night, a special edition. I'm going to try to take about 24 hours off from this, and I've got other things to do tomorrow, but I'll probably be back with another special edition tomorrow night because the clock just keeps ticking on this and the election keeps getting closer. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.